Now, after this Batman film, you're probably wondering, hey, Brandon, what's your favorite Batman? What's your favorite Bruce Wayne? But I want to ask you, what's your favorite Catwoman? Let's talk about that. My name is Brandon Keith Avery, and this is just my opinion. Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Just My Opinion for my movie review for The Batman. And if this is your first time finding me and you happen to like the video, please give me that thumbs up and consider subscribing. All right, guys, we are here with this 2022 version of The Batman. I know a lot of people out there have been clamoring to see this film, to know if it's good or if it's bad, if director Matt Reeves did the character justice. This is what the gentleman looks like right here. And to be honest with you guys, once upon a time, I don't want to say a big fan of Matt Reeves. I was a decent fan. If you want to look at his filmography right here, he did do Cloverfield, which came out in 2008. I loved that film, and also Let Me In. But he was also the man responsible for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes. Now, let me just stop right there because this is going to get into my expectations for the Batman and the expectations for everything. Rise of the Planet of the Apes that came out before Dawn, before Matt Reeves came in there, it was directed by Rupert Wyatt. I thought that film was a cinematic masterpiece. I remember rating that film a 9.5 out of 10. It was just so great. It was just so glorious. The only nitpick I had is when the apes were escaping on the bridge in San Francisco. I just wanted them to stretch that little battle out a little bit more. It would have been a perfect 10 for me. And so I could not wait for the sequel. And Matt Reeves comes with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which was a great movie, but it wasn't as good as Rise. And I was like, man, Matt Reeves, you're kind of messing up my franchise here. I was loving what Rupert Wyatt did, but now you're kind of messing it up. Dawn was still great, but it wasn't as good as Rise. But then he came out with War for the Planet of the Apes. And guys, I was so disappointed with that film. I was like, there was no war. There was no war. But let me get back to the Batman. So with me being disappointed with him handling those two sequels, guys, I stopped being a fan of Matt Reeves. He just didn't do anything for me. So when he was announced to be the director for this Batman film, I lost all motivation. I was already upset at the time because Ben Affleck was not coming back, and I loved his interpretation, his iteration of the Batman in the Justice League with Zack Snyder and all that. So when Matt Reeves came in the fall, I did not get excited at all. I was like, I want Ben Affleck to come back. So ever since Matt Reeves was attached to this, I have not really paid attention to any of the marketing, any of the behind the scenes, whatever you want to call it. I was just like, okay, hey, I mean, I like Batman and I'm going to go see it just for that. And we also have Robert Pattinson in the role. Now, I do like Robert Pattinson. I do respect him as an actor. I am not one of those people out there like, what? Robinson Pattinson from Twilight boy. No, I have seen Robert Pattinson in other works, and I think he did a great job there. And so I know that the man can act. I respect him as an actor, like I said, but that still does not mean that I was on board with him fulfilling Batman, you know, especially with him saying he doesn't want to work out and he doesn't want to do this and all that stuff. I saw the trailers for the film last year and this year and all that good stuff, and they look good, but I was like, hey, Brandon, gonna keep your expectations low. Even though Batman is one of your favorite superheroes out there, and even though you do respect Robert Pattinson, things are just not lining up, so you're just gonna go into this film with an open mind, with an open heart, with open eyes, and give it a fair shot. And guys, that's exactly what I did. But before I get into all the nitty gritty, all my likes and dislikes, after that long preface, after that long exposition dump of my expectations, let me tell you exactly what this film is all about. When the Riddler, a sadistic serial killer, begins murdering key political figures in Gotham, Batman is forced to investigate the city's hidden corruption and question his family's involvement. One of the first things that I really did like about this film is the runtime. It does come in at 3 hours, and once you hear that, that may turn off some moviegoers, but rest assured, even though this film is 3 hours, it did not feel like 3 hours. Now, it definitely felt like 2 hours, but I will say that the pacing in this was quite good, and it did pass itself along respectfully, so you don't have to worry about the runtime being too long. The next thing that I did love about this is as soon as the film started off, we got narration from Bruce Wayne, from Robert Pattinson, from Batman. And this is a different take on the character that I've seen before in past iterations of the character. You really got to see what was going on in Bruce Wayne's mind and Batman's mind and what he thinks about Gotham City and his place and where he fits in and all that. One of the lines of dialogue that impressed me early on in the film as it was opening up with the narration is Bruce Wayne, Batman, Robert Pattinson saying, Gotham City is a big city. I cannot be everywhere at one point in time. And so I really have to do my homework, research, and calculate where I am going to be to provide the best impact. I really like that right there. I don't think that we've ever got into Batman's mind the way that Matt Reeves addressed it here. And that is something that I really do appreciate. Also, another correction, this is not just directed by Matt Reeves, it's also written by him as well, and also Peter Craig. I do want to give credit where credit is due. If you don't know what Peter Craig looks like, this is the gentleman right here. He also wrote things like The Hunger Games, Bad Boys for Life, Top Gun, Maverick, The Town. And so he does have some talent under his belt. And so Peter Craig, and also Matt Reeves, they are also the co-writers of this film. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the characters. Colin Farrell fulfilling the role of the Penguin. He knocked that out of the park. He did a great job, so 2 thumbs up right there. Also to the makeup team, the makeup department, he really did disappear in the role behind all those prosthetics. I actually forgot that he was in the movie, and there was a number of scenes where he was showcased in this film to where I was like, man, the Penguin is doing such a great job. And honestly, it wasn't to the end of the film where they had a shot of his face and the camera is kind of panning around as he's looking out of the window at the horizon. And I was like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot that is Colin Farrell. Man, is that why I loved him so much? So he did a great job there. And I don't know, who did I like more? This one or Danny DeVito? I really have to think about that, but I will say that Colin Farrell did do a great job. The next character that I want to talk about is Zoe Kravitz, who fulfills the role of Selena Kyle, aka Catwoman. She did a great job too. She looks sexy as hell outside of the outfit and inside of the outfit as well. She knows what she's doing. You can tell that she's been stretching and kicking and practicing all that. I love her combat moves. That was nice. And the camera was pulled back, wide shot, so you can actually see the choreography and everything that she was doing. And you also got a good sense of all the things that she had to go through. Life was just not easy for her. It was not a cakewalk. She had to struggle. She had to fight. She had to go through a lot of barriers to get to the point that where she is as far as her status is in Gotham City. I love that. I like it and I respect it. And I think that she did a great job. And I wouldn't mind seeing Zoe Kravitz come back and fulfill the role more. In the intro of this video, I said to myself, man, out of all the Catwoman out there, who did the best? You got Zoe Kravitz. You also have Michelle Pfeiffer. You have Anne Hathaway. You also have Eartha Kitt. And I feel like there's another one that I'm leaving off the table right now. So please let me know, because I know we have 5. We have Eartha Kitt, Anne Hathaway, Michelle Pfeiffer, Zoe Kravitz. Who am I leaving out right now? Oh my gosh. How can I forget Halle Berry? I'm tripping. Wow, so don't get mad at me, but we got to throw Halle Berry in there as well. While I'm filming this review, I'm probably going to have to think about which one is my favorite. I mean, I am the one that posed the question. And so make sure you stay to the end so you can get my answer. All right, the next character we got to talk about is the Riddler, played by Paul Dano. Wow, he did a great job up until a point. We're going to put a pin in there and we're going to pull it out later. But right now, I'm just going to say he did a great job. He was very menacing. He was very scary and it was very unstable. Now, the Joker is crazy as well, too. Doesn't give a crap, will blow anybody's head off, shoot them in the face, cut their throat, whatever. But the Riddler is a different type of crazy. He is just as crazy as the Joker, but like I said, a different type because he's so unstable. You can tell that there's something deep down within his heart that is eating away at him that just makes him kind of kooky in the brain. And when I say unstable, like just a random thing can set him off. You know, if he's walking and he stubs his toe on something, he may just blow up a building just for that. Nothing like that happened in the film. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but as soon as he started talking and delivering his lines and breathing heavy and all that, I was like, wow, I want to stay as far away from this guy as I possibly can, because even if I look at him, I'm pretty sure my days are numbered, and I don't want no part of that in my life at all. And also, since we're talking about the Riddler, we also have to just talk about the brutality in the film as well. When the Riddler is in here taking duct tape and taping them up and all this, it is quite uncomfortable the way he is treating other human beings. I mean, he just doesn't give a crap. He has a clear goal. He has a clear mission. He's trying to accomplish something, and he's not going to let anyone get in the way for him to achieve that. And we have somebody that driven, that's also that crazy and unstable, that just really makes them that much more dangerous. And again, I don't want any part of that in my life. Now we got to move over to Lieutenant Gordon, Commissioner Gordon up in here, played by Jeffrey Wright. He was possibly one of the best parts in this movie for me. This is the first time we had a brother, a black man, fulfilling the role, and I think he did a great job. I really did love the relationship that he had with Batman in this film. That was great. I don't want to rate it as far as, you know, okay, who did better in this version of Batman as far as their relationship is concerned, but I really did like the relationship between Commissioner Gordon and the Batman in this film. Now, if you know Batman and the lore, you know all the villains, and you know, or the mobsters, you know Carmine Falcone. He's been played by John Turturro. I remember him last time from the Transformers movies. He was a silly, goofy character. So to see him in this right here, the Batman, directed by Matt Reeves, playing a villain, a mobster, but it did stand out to me. I liked it a lot. Also, this is a very, very, very realistic take on Batman, possibly one of the most realistic versions of the Batman character. And I'm also going to put a pin in that as well. We'll pull it out later. But I did like that aspect where I was saying to myself, wow, anybody in this movie, they can die at any time. And also the film, I feel, is not afraid to show it. This still has a PG-13 rating, but I was like, man, this could be dancing on R just a little bit if they're not careful. There wasn't any sex scenes or nudity or just blood splattering everywhere. But it just goes to the sound mixing, design, the effects that they put in there, and also the score, which we'll talk about in a second. It really is dancing on that thin line about how this film should be rated, and so I have to give it there. It is very realistic and brutal. I just talked about the score, Michael Giacchino. Wow. He did an incredible job with the score. That's also one of the better parts of this film that I absolutely love, because when they popped on some of his themes, I caught myself bobbing my head like this in the middle of the Batman movie. But I did like that. You know, it did bring some life into me, so I have to give the credit to the composer, Michael Giacchino. He did a great job there as well with the score that I would not mind jamming in my car when I'm going here, there, or everywhere. Now let's talk about the fighting. You know, we got to talk about the fighting and the action and the ninjutsu and all this and flipping off the walls and the gadgets and all that stuff. There was not much action in this film, but when it was there, it was cool. I at least liked the way they shot it. It was wide and it wasn't a bunch of jump cuts, and I love that. When it comes down to my martial arts choreography, when it comes down to fighting, don't just throw a punch, cut, throw a punch, cut, throw a punch, cut, throw a punch, cut. You know, you're just telling me you don't know what you're doing and the choreography sucks. Now, it can work if it's edited the right way, but pull the camera back, let the shot be wide, and just let it linger there for a second. You know what I'm saying? Throw 3 or 4 or 5 punches without you cutting over. And when Batman and Selena Kyle, Catwoman, meet, they kind of have a little bout. I'm not spoiling anything. This was released in the trailer, in the clip online, and so even if it wasn't, it's no big deal. But I did like that. That was one of the highlights of the film as far as the action is concerned. Also, something else that I loved in this film was the riddles. When Batman is trying to solve these riddles and put the pieces of the puzzle together, those are a few moments to where I kind of got to the edge of my seat and was just kind of leaning in like this, like, okay, hey, what's going on here? I'm liking this. I'm trying to figure this out as well. I'm trying to answer the riddles. I didn't get any of them right, but Batman did, and that's what I came to see. I came to see Batman solve some riddles and get it right, and that was nice. I liked the intensity there. It was great. It was thrilling, and so I got to give another thumbs up right there because that was great. Now, I have heard people clamoring for ages, like, man, I want my Batman to be an investigator. I want him to be a detective. I want him to solve problems and just have to figure it out and just be puzzled and clueless and just super detective Batman. That is exactly what you're going to get in this movie. If you want Detective Batman, you got it, because it is here all the way up, down, left, right, in and out. And so rest assured right there, you are going to get you a super duper detective Batman in this movie. And I love that aspect of it. That was great. That was great. And so rest assured, you're going to get that right there. So 2 thumbs up right there as well. And also, I love the perception that everybody had of Batman as well. I remember in The Dark Knight Rises, the last version of the Christopher Nolan trilogy, towards the end, there was a little boy like, oh my God, it's the Batman. Dun, 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 all that stuff right there. And ain't none of that in this movie right here, okay? You know, people have a completely different interpretation of Batman because, first of all, a lot of people don't even know him or even heard of him. This right here is a Batman that's kind of taking from the comics of Batman Year One, even though this is not his origin story. Batman has only been in the game for 2 years, and also Batman Ego. I had to look that up. I'm not too familiar with that. And so people are still trying to get to know Batman. They don't know who he is. They're kind of afraid of him. You know, they don't trust him. Some people see him just as another bad guy, and that is realistic, you know. So I kind of got to give the film credit there too. They did a great job there. So, you know, guys, just let you know, those are all my likes, those are all my positives. But let me get to the negatives of the film. I hate to disappoint you, but I have to be honest with you. Okay, first of all, Riddler. I like the Riddler, but up until a point, this is the first pin where I'm pulling out. I liked him all the way up until the point to where they actually revealed who he was. Now, when they did that and we got a little bit more backstory as far as his motivations for doing things and where he came from, I understand that, and how Bruce Wayne's family ties into everything. That makes perfect sense. Great writing. But the acting for me kind of went down the crapper. I was just like very annoyed, like, bro, stop it, calm down. Can y'all cut and do a retake of this? Because I'm not feeling it at all whatsoever. All that scary and menacing stuff that we got early on in the film with the Riddler just completely just disappeared. And I don't know what happened. And it kind of clocked me out of the film. And I'm just really disappointed about that, to be honest with you. So about 75% of the Riddler was great. The other thing is, they started acting goofy with the character, and I was like, okay, we need to go put this guy down. Another thing, guys, that I'm not a fan of is when it comes to the riddles, I kind of wish that Batman was challenged a little bit more. It seemed like even though he's super smart and all that, it seemed like there was too many instances where he was just able to figure out the riddle just like that. And I just kind of wanted him to struggle a little bit more. And so that was a missed opportunity. All right, guys, another character that we have to talk about that I didn't bring up in the good part is Alfred. Alfred Pennyworth, played by Andy Serkis. I am a big fan of Andy Serkis, and I don't want to say that he did a bad job in this movie, but there was just not a lot of screen time for him. And the relationship between him and Batman, it was absent. I mean, like, it just wasn't there. I did not like it at all. I didn't like the way they communicated with each other. I did not like the tone and the brief scenes that we got them in. It was probably only like 1 or 2. And at one time, I kind of had to ask myself why they were trying to communicate. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, what year is this film taking place in? Why can't you're Batman? Do you not have an immediate device to where you can get in contact with Alfred immediately? You're Batman. You have the money. You have the resources. You should have the technology. But that's just absent. And we saw like a rotary phone. But I was like, what is going on? Like, you're Batman. How are you not able to get in touch with Alfred, just by a snap of a finger or pressing a button on your watch or something? That really did rub me the wrong way. So I was highly, highly disappointed with the depiction of Alfred in this movie. I thought it was a wasted opportunity, and I was really, really disappointed with that. Also, guys, while this is a great film, this was just not for me. This is not the Batman that I wanted to see. One is because we really didn't get to see Batman. We really didn't get to see any gadgets. I mean, I don't think he used any batarangs or anything like that. His car, the Batmobile, was a redesigned muscle car, which is fine. And I know that comes from, different versions of the character in the comics, but it wasn't for me. As far as the action is concerned, it was absent in this film. The only thing about Batman that was true in this movie, and we can talk about the characters as well, is It only had the detective Batman, the investigator, the detective. I want to see him train. I want to see him work out. I want to see him practice. I'm not saying that we have to have some flashback of him with the League of Shadows or Ra's al Ghul, but I kind of want to have at least one line of dialogue, especially if this is year 2 of like where you got all your skills. And I don't know. Guys, this did not seem like, this is called The Batman, and I feel like I did not get Batman. I did not like Robert Pattinson in the role. This is not Bruce Wayne to me. Even if director Matt Reeves was saying, okay, this is a different version, we're gonna get this, we're gonna get that. This is a guy that's, you know, bored. He's a recluse. He just hangs out looking depressed all the time. Even when we see Robert Pattinson with his shirt off, I mean, he has a few cuts and stuff, but I want to see a swole Batman. Somebody that looks like they just came from the gym. Somebody looks like they just been lifting some weights or kicking a punching bag or something. You know, like where there's no training, nothing. There's just nothing physical about him as far as Batman in the Robert Pattinson. And then when he's in the actual Batman costume, he looks nice in the costume, but when he's moving around, y'all remember The Dark Knight? Hey, you know, why can't I be Batman just like you? Christian Bale says, because, you know, I'm not dressing up in hockey pads. Batman to me in this felt like somebody in dress up. Now, I'm not going to rip in the shreds and say, okay, it was the equivalent to looking like somebody was in hockey pads. That would be a travesty. But Batman is just not Batman. I kind of felt that it was just somebody in costume that knew how to walk around looking tough. And then, guys, when it comes to the fighting, I got to be honest with you, I was not impressed either, because there was just too many times where Batman got his ass whooped in his own movie. I can understand a punch or kick or here and there and all that, but Batman, he put himself into too many positions to where he could have died, got his identity revealed to the world, or just got his ass whooped. I mean, like, Batman should have died like 12 times in this movie. And so, I mean, you can give me one, you can give me two, but it was just too many times where he put himself in danger, had no way of escape, and either got out because of luck or bad writing. And I was just not feeling it at all. At one point, I was like, okay, I can jump into the screen, I can jump into this movie and whoop Batman myself, and I do not want to see that when I'm watching a Batman movie. Now, there was a piece of technology that I did like Batman used with Catwoman in this film, and when they're trying to investigate and do research and all that good stuff. And so that is good. I wanted to talk about that as well. But I did like the way people perceive Batman, but also on the flip side, just another gripe. When it got to the crime bosses and them trying to find out what's what and who's pulling all the strings, it did kind of get a little convoluted for my taste, but it's not that big of a deal. This movie is more of a mixed bag for me. I mean, I listed all my likes, I listed all my dislikes, and I have more likes than dislikes, but I have to be honest with you guys. If I never saw this movie again, I would not lose 1 second of sleep. I would not. I have to be honest with you guys. There was a lot of points in this movie to where I was just bored. The pacing was fine, but I would have said to myself, this is not anything that I want to see. I want to see this, I want to see that, and I'm not seeing it. And I was just also, guys, really bummed out with how much Batman got his ass kicked. I mean, I did. I did. And that's a bummer. And if we never saw any sequels to this movie again, like I said, I would be A-okay. This is just not my Batman. I mean, if you want to see a Detective Batman, that's great. I want to see a Detective Batman and more, and that's all we got. We didn't get any of the gadgets. We didn't get any nice him gliding in the air or anything like that. Couple of grappling hook shots. He was just getting beat up. It's just a lot of the great aspects of Batman that make him fantastic were absent in this movie, except for a nice suit and everything else that I named. And I almost forgot, out of all the Catwomen, or at least the last 5 that I'm familiar with, if you say Eartha Kitt, Michelle Pfeiffer, Halle Berry, Anne Hathaway, and Zoe Kravitz, who is the best? I think I still have to give it to Michelle Pfeiffer, but then Halle Berry for overall sexiness. Let me know down below in the comment section what you think and whether you agree or disagree with me or not. I will go ahead and give my rating for this at the very end, but guys, that is just my opinion, and I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this video, please go ahead and give me the thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. helping me reach 40,000 subscribers on my way to 100,000. And why would you want to subscribe to my channel? Well, let me tell you. You'll get movie reviews, which I have right here. Also spoiler movie reviews. I may do a spoiler movie review later on this week with a couple of people on my team. Also a movie news roundup show that I have each week. And I also do TV recaps of all of my favorite shows like Bel-Air, Euphoria, Power Book 4, and also I have some trailer reactions. And hey, if I get lucky, you may see me doing an interview with a Hollywood star. But guys, if I had to rate The Batman out of a 1 out of 10, you think I'm gonna trash it, but I'm not. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Yes, a 7 out of 10. It is a solid film. It's just not for me. I have enough sense and skill to take off my subjective hat, which is more my opinion, and put on my objective hat. And objectively, it's a good film. It's a great, solid film. It's just subjectively, it's just not the Batman that I wanted. So you may like it much more than I do, and that's perfectly fine. But hey, that's why I'm here. That's just my opinion. So guys, again, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. And before you go, don't forget that my name is Brandon Keith Avery, and that's just my opinion. Peace.